What's going on, guys? All right. So hopefully that helps some. I sometimes I hate hopping on the live and then I don't have anybody to talk to, and I'll be ready to go. All right, so I hope you all are having a beautiful day. This will be the new time that I hop on here at live. Hey, how you doing, King Jr.? This will be the new time that I plan to hop on here Monday through Friday to be able to talk a little bit and just update you on what's going on in the room. Today, we are finally doing a little bit of watering. And so while we're doing some watering today, I would love it if you could drop down on a comment. Let me know if you have any plant questions. Let me know how your day is going. And what in the plant room you would like for me to be able to discuss. Now, when it comes to watering my plants, and I'm gonna move my chair over just a tad bit. When it comes to watering my plants, I stick with usually two type of items. My day is going good. What about yours? My day is going pretty good. I'm actually very happy because I'm getting in here and actually watering my plants. I've been talking about it for the last couple of days, and every time something seems to pop up, and I say, you know what? This time I'm going to go through here. I have to take the time out and water them. Now, some of the plants that really was in a drier need of watering, I did go ahead and take care of those. I wasn't going to lose any plants, but the ones that I was like, you know what? I can get to them when I get to them. That's what I'm going to do. So today I'm getting to them. All right, so the two ingredients that I always put into my water, sometimes I put them together, sometimes I do it every other watering. Number one is going to be Super Thrive right here. Hopefully I'm talking into the right part of the camera, guys. I'm gonna do my best. Now, Super Thrive. The thing about Super Thrive is that it's a little bit expensive. I spent about $16 to $17, and I believe I did find it in the store for $15. Either way, it's around that price mark. But this is something that is locally available, so you can go into actual big box store, your Home Depot, your Lowe's, and pick this up. This works really, really, really good. I hope you're having a good one. You frame well in the camera. Thank you, Plant Fun. I appreciate that. Um, this right here, it works good as a vitamin, and it helps a lot with root shock. When you repotting your plants and so forth, and you repot them, it can stress your plants out. Your big ones or small ones, it doesn't really matter. This was recommended to me about 2 years ago. I used it, never looked back. Now, also was another product that you all used to see me using a lot of, and that was called Moon Juice. Moon Juice worked just as good. Now, I did find out that the Super Thrive is a little bit more concentrated, a little bit more stronger, and you can get a little bit more results from it. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. But the Moon Juice, for the price that you pay for it, you get this big, huge bottle for like $29 versus this little bottle. And you still mix water in with both of them. So you do that, you compare out of your wallet. But I will say, this right here goes a very long way. So I use Super Thrive, and the next thing that I use is Foop. Foop is an all natural fish fertilizer type of thing. I don't get paid for any of these or sponsored. I'm just letting you know what I use. I want you all to win. Um, this stuff has changed my room. I used to just give my room water. That was pretty much it. And then I started doing better repotting. And then I started learning about how important it is to feed your plant, fertilize your plant. I thought fertilizing was optional at first. It's really not if you want your plant to be able to thrive overall. That's completely up to you though, on when you decide that you're ready to take that next step. You move at your own speed. If you try to keep up with other people and do what they're doing, you'll quickly lose your own way, and you'll find yourself with a lot of dead plants and spending a lot of money, okay? So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is start filling up this bottle. Now, I brought this here because this is a tool that I use ever so often, especially when I'm watering like my moss poles and so forth. But just my everyday watering, I typically don't use this. But to make sure that we stay on the screen, I am going to incorporate this into my watering today. Only reason why I don't use this as much is because I found it hard to be able to measure how much water my plant is actually getting when just using the sprayer, because the sprayer just sprays it and it can leave the soil looking like it's more moist than what it is. So what I'm going to use this for is, sorry about that, I didn't mean to clear my throat. We're going to go ahead and turn it on, switch. After we turn it on, we're going to go ahead and fill it up. Now, what you want to do when you're doing any type of plant watering Well, I don't know if you all can hear me. I don't want to yell over top of that. I'm sorry. If you're doing any type of plant watering, you want to make sure you use room temperature water. If you use cold water, you're going to shock your plants. Okay. And I understand that this could take a little bit longer than what we wanted to, but I wanted to make sure to go over some of the things that I actually do in here. That right there, the food that I showed you, you can pick that up from Amazon. I believe that container cost me maybe $49 or $59.99. I'm not exactly for sure. But in this room, this container lasts me for about 4, maybe 5 months. And I also have plants around the house too that are pretty big in size. So it yields a long way. Now you can also get it in a much smaller bottle than the one that you're seeing right here. See, now you can see as long as I'm holding this right here, I'm not getting much water. So just be careful if you're using one of these to water your plants directly that you could be shortchanging your plant with water. Okay, so since we're here and we're covering a few things, number one, rule with watering your plants. Do not put all your plants. When did you start making YouTube videos? I started making YouTube videos about 2 years ago, I want to say. I think I started my first video in 2024. It was around January. It was like the first. It was one of those New Year goals. Soon as the next year come, I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna step it up. And so I just jumped up, did it. It was everywhere. It was everywhere. My long form videos are freaking everywhere. Told the absolute truth. If you go back, you'll see some of the things that I did, and I even cringe. I'm like, oh, why did I do that? But it was all a part of the game of learning, and you learn what stuff works for you and what stuff don't. And that was something that I had to learn when I first got into plants. I knew absolutely nothing about it. So if anybody had any bit of wisdom or knowledge that they could share with me, I took it and I applied it. The thing is about that though, if you get information from everywhere and you never truly stick into one source of information and you just combine it, you don't know where you went wrong if things go wrong. And most of the time they will go wrong if you don't know what you're doing. My first video I think was a couple of years ago. I didn't know you had one. Do you talk about plants on there? You have a great attitude. Goes a long way. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. Um, I'll tell you, it's because I'm in my plant room. I love my room because when I'm in here, I don't really worry about all the normal things that's going on. Life is chaotic. Whose life isn't chaotic? Who doesn't have things going on, you know? So I love that I've been able to create a space that I can get in here and I could just not think about what's on the other side of the wall, you know? Um, but yeah, when you're learning about plants and just coming to it blind, I combined all this information, guys, and it just was overwhelmed, and it caused me to kind of check out before I actually was able to check in. So now, when we get into the water, number one rule: do not put all your plants on the same watering cycle. All plants are different. You have to keep in mind of this: their size, their genetics, who's closer to the window, maybe if you're giving it grow light, what kind of soil that you have into it, what kind of pot you have it in, all of that stuff matters. So just because you have two identical plants, it doesn't mean that they're going to require the same amount of attention at the same time, okay? Now, what you do with this, if this was filled all the way up to the top for time purposes, I just didn't want to, but if this was filled all the way to the top, I would tell you to put 3 squirts of this in. But since it's not, we're only halfway, we're just gonna do 1.5. We can get one out. I promise y'all it's not empty. All right. And just to show you that you can combine both of them, since I have my FOOP in here, which is like a fish fertilizer, I'm gonna put my Super Thrive in here, which is a vitamin. So they're gonna get fed really good today. Anytime with any type of treatment you use, even if you're treating your plants like this right here, This SNS 203, I get this from Amazon, works really good on fighting your mealybugs and your thrips. But anytime you're using anything to water your plants or to treat your plants, you're perfectly fine with using your Super Thrive, okay? This mixes in, it doesn't get in the way of anything. Now, what you want to do is just put you a little bit in here, okay? It doesn't need a lot, little goes a long way. Boom. Now, what I like to do is take a look around and see exactly what plants are going to need some watering before we actually start this task. Because the last thing I want to do is be ready to go over to a section and that plant doesn't need, or none of these plants need it, and I just waste time over here. And I'm moving and transporting water. That's the main thing. You can knock a lot of water over, and I have, and I get tired of every time I do watering, I have a big mess. So this time we're going to play a little bit smart. We're going to start over here on our corner over here. I'm going to rotate you all, and we're going to go from there. And I'm gonna check my messages. Grow food, wake up. Listen, I actually, if you have some recommendation on how to do certain types of food, help me out here. I wanna grow some food inside the house. I'm thinking straight off the bat, tomatoes will be good. Bell peppers, and I don't know what else would be. I want it to be kind of easy. This is my first year trying this, okay? I don't want it to be too difficult. Yeah, my girlfriend loves plants a lot, but I don't know what to get her for her birthday. I'm thinking of, if she loves plants, get her a plant. Now, you don't have to spend a whole lot. First, roses die. I am not a big fan of cut plants and all that because eventually they go. Unless, that person isn't a big plant person. But if you're saying she loves plants, I will go ahead. You can't go wrong with getting a pothos, okay? Now, a pothos or a philodendron, anything that's a trailing plant, let's talk about it. This right here is a pothos, okay? This is my pearl and jade right here. And this one, in my opinion, is a slow grower, and you can get some that grow a lot faster. However, that's a more noticeable one. Now, another one that you may like, I don't know exactly which plant she has or doesn't. Now this right here is a Philodendron Brazil. Now these get to be pretty big. They're not the fastest grower in my opinion. However, they grow and they're very noticeable. So they don't have to be that fast because just having something like this to capture that beauty, depending on what pot you put it in, is gonna make enough statement. Do you know what kinds of plants your girlfriend is into? Well, I don't have a girlfriend. I'm married, and I can tell you right now, absolute truth. My wife could care less about plants, okay? I have to get on her all the time because she tries to buy like a fake plant if she wants to decorate something to take a picture in because we have an embroidery business. That's how I'm able to get these going. I have some plant stuff working. Don't worry, I'm gonna share it with you all later. But yeah, she don't care nothing about no plants. I can tell you that. Now, the only thing she cares about is how much should I spend and do I have any room? Okay. I'm sorry. All right. So let's take a look at some of these plants and see what needs watering at. Now, what I like to do with my plants, I stick my finger into the soil right here. And as you can tell, I bought this plant from, let's see here, Grown in Bell's Nursery. Most likely I bought this from Lowe's. Our Lowe's around here carries Bell Nursery. Now, I stick my finger inside of here just to see if it's dry now, and you can take a look and tell that this plant is dry for the most part. And this is the type of soil that I have in here. Now, when it comes to your philodendron, your trailing plants, and so forth like this, they do like to retain their moisture some. So you can go a little bit more heavier on like your peat moss or your outdoor growing mean if that's going to help you to find a little bit of balance in controlling your water issue. You don't want these plants to dry out for a long period of time, but in between waterings you do. Most plants, especially your philodendrons, your monsteras, and your pothos, they prefer to dry out between watering. So that's why it's very important for you to do a finger check, or if you're just starting off, or maybe you haven't done your full customized mix, you can get a water meter. Now the thing is about a water meter is this: when you start putting mixes and start combining your items into to make a real nice chunky airy mix, that water meter will not work. It took me a long time for that to register with me. Okay, when you're used to it, you stick your water meter in. It tells you if your soil is water, if it's not. That works fine when you don't have anything like perlite, big perlite, orchid bark, leca. Um, let's go with koi koi. When you throw those items into your soil, that's when you start to have a little bit of issues with that water meter, and it's not going to be accurate. So the best thing I could tell you to do is you could take your finger and put it inside of here, and you also can take like a chopstick piece of wood, stick it in there, and then let it come out. Rule of thumb, if you stick your finger in there and the soil you going past about like this much and it's dry before you get to the bottom, go ahead and water your plant. You'll be pretty good. Just make sure you look at your plant. Now, if your plant doesn't look like it needs water because it's already looked lush, maybe you watered it a little too much, like last week you was a little bit of a heavy pour. Well, guess what? You don't have to water that plant this week because you need to allow it to be able to dry out. So first thing I'm gonna do though is get this watering tray, because I used to water a lot of plants and forget the watering tray, water spill all out. And I'm like, oh crap. So I already have my item completely inside of here. So now I'm gonna go ahead and water. Now what I like to do is equally go around and make sure the water goes around the pot. I don't like the water just on one side, okay? The water might just decide to go on one side and not get through all the roots. And you can hear, let's see if you can get closer. I don't know, now stop. But you can hear the water being drunk in here. So now I'm gonna look here. I see that I have a hole for a well draining. And what I need to do, no water came out from the top to the bottom. When you properly water your plant, water should be coming and passing through, okay? That's the way you fully water it. It's not overwatering if you water this plant all the way through. It becomes overwatering if you water your plant today, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, next week, so forth. That's overwatering. But to thoroughly water your plant when it needs water, you soak that joker, okay? There are so many different methods. I'll tell you right now, the best method for watering your plant is bottom watering. That is best. However, it's also the most time consuming one as well. When you bottom water, you have to put your water at the bottom of this pot right band here, or if you have it in like a tub or so forth, you can put your water in there, but you're just gonna have to watch it. It's just a lot of work to me. I prefer to water it from the top to the bottom, let it pass through, let it sit in the drain for a little while to make sure the roots absorb up as much extra water that it has down here. And after about an hour or two, even if you forget about it for almost the whole day, that's okay. Now don't leave it in there for multiple days. But if you forget about this, say we water our plant right now and I leave this in here and I don't see it till 8, 9 o'clock tonight, it's perfectly fine as long as I take care of it. Get rid of it, let it sit there, and you'll be good to go. Now, I've seen some people take it and just dip it, submerge it all the way in water. I have seen people do that. Have I done that personally? No. But I've seen people do it, and they have beautiful plants, so it does work. My recommendation, though, water it from the top to the bottom. Make sure you got a good pass through, and you're good to go. Plants seem really thirsty today. Okay, I'm gonna let this plant be. Now, there are different type of plants that do require different type of watering. Now, let's take this plant right here. This is a calathea. This is I want to say a black beauty calathea. If that's not the exact name, if you type it in, you're going to get to it. Plants like these, they require filtered water. We actually talked about this yesterday or the day before yesterday. You can see I spent $23.95, which in my opinion is a really good price. That's why I have different, say, okay, I'm gonna dry that tomorrow before she wakes up to get us. Yes, you should. I don't know, I'm pretty sure I missed the conversation, what was going on there, but yes, you should go get her some nice plants. You can get her one or two, you don't have to spend a whole lot, but I'm telling you, whatever you buy for her, and she knows that you actually paid attention to her loving plants, you can't go wrong, okay? That's gonna be a win. Now, if you really wanna spice things up, Go to the local nursery and you could just get her one plant. You don't even have to give her a couple, but get her one highly recommended plant from your nursery. Now, when you go in there, have a budget, okay? Because you'll walk in there and they'll have you spending $100 on a plant that you know absolutely nothing about. Go in there with a budget, say, hey, I'm here. I don't want to go more than $25. I'm looking for something that's very easy to care for. I want it to be low light. Tell that to them, low light, because every plant needs light. But if you get a plant with low light and you give it light, you already increase the odds by double. Instead of instead of getting a plant that requires bright light and you struggle to get it the bright light, okay? So you want to look for a plant indirect bright light, okay? That's going to be safe for you. But having a plant like this, you do have to get some type of filtered water in there. Now, it was a person that I actually talked to or responded to this morning in a comment that they had a recommendation on some stuff that I could use to break the water that comes out my tap water, break that down so I don't have to spend extra money on bottled water. And best believe I'm going to do that. Let's see here. Now, this right here is my mic, and I had already watered this plant this morning. But just to talk to you about different types of soil, this mican, I never took this out to repot it. Okay, it's in the same mix that I bought it in, right here. And you see that that mix isn't that chunky, and this plant is doing just as well. Okay, it's doing fine. Now, let's talk to you about another plant, still in the same family. This is a Philodendron Florida Green. Okay, you can see right here, you can see the mix that I have. Okay, this mix right here that I have in here is called a chunky airy mix. I make this. Don't worry, we're going to go over a video that I'm going to talk to you about how I make it step by step, where to get it from, how much it costs, and so forth. It's actually going to be coming out today on the importance of soil, so just stay tuned to watch that. Might be coming out around now, and I don't know what time I scheduled it, but we got it going, okay? Make sure you give it a look, check it out, and let me know yourself. So these right here, though, philodendrons, as you can see, in the same family, both are philodendrons, but you wouldn't even know, completely different. If you ever been around a philodendron micing, you know that these are very fuzzy plants. So when you touch them, they feel like fur. And we're gonna put this. Now this is a plant that needs water. You can look at the soil and tell how dry it is. You can even take a look at the leaves. Okay, you see that little curl in that leaf right there and how it looks like it's down? Oh, and it's a pitcher plant. Oh, those, if you're talking about the actual pitcher plant, those are very nice. I don't know if they, hope you both have one day. I got to get some plant chores done. Okay, Plant Fun, you take care, all right? If you have some time tomorrow, I'll see you then. If not, you just make sure you be safe, okay? These right here, guys, is a good indicator to look at. Look at your leaves. If you start to see them curl in or curl to the side, then you know that your plant usually needs water. And of course, you could take your finger, do the check, and it'll let you know. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna hold my watering tray and we're gonna water this plant. Now, hopefully this one gives us a better example of watering from the top to the bottom when you see the water pass through. We're right here. Ooh, it's filling up pretty fast, actually. Okay, so you see that one passed from the top to the bottom pretty fast. I'm gonna get another tray. Hold on one second. Nope, no other tray. I just dumped that in there. Now we're gonna take a look at this. This plant, pretty good. Now when water passes through this fast, sometimes I do run water back through it again just to make sure it got all in there. As you can tell, going from the top to the bottom, I'm not gonna have to worry about any type of root rot. Versus those other plants that have a little bit more peat moss or indoor pot mix in there, when you water them, that water is gonna sit in there for a while. So it does matter how much light your plant is getting to be able to absorb that up. That's why repotting your plant, it matters. You can't just repot your plant in any type of size plant because your root system, what it's going to focus on when you plant that plant in a huge pot, it's going to focus on rebuilding the root system inside that plant, inside that pot, so it feels real nice and snuggle. So if you place this plant like this inside this big, huge pot, it's going to be lost down there. And that's when you start seeing a lot of yellowing because guess what? When you water that plant, you're not just watering that one little section, you're watering that full pot. And that's how you get root rot. So since we do, and since we are talking about that, let's go ahead and put this on out here for you all. Plants are perfectly fine with having roots going all around the pot, okay? That's perfectly fine. The problem is that when you get in there, you realize there's so many roots that you don't see any soil. Then that's when you start to have the problem. We confuse that sometimes with soon as you have one little root that start to come out the pot, you feel like you need to do a repot. Now, if that's going to make you feel more comfortable and you just want to, and you're just going to take the plant up to a 1/2 inch size, perfect. By all means, do that. But just because you have one little root that wiggled out the bottom, thoroughly inspect that plant and just see if it really is a root bound issue, which the roots are wrapped all around the pot. They're starting to come out the bottom of the pot, and that it's no soil really to see. So your plant really can't do anything. And you'll know a good sign of root bound. When you water your plant and it turns yellow the next day for absolutely no reason, that usually means that your plants just can't absorb the water. So your roots are just sitting there in water. Okay? That's how you're able to know that. If you all have any questions or anything, put them down there at the bottom and I'll answer to them. I saw something pop up. Let me read it. Oh, when I was making some food, she wanted me to down there. You cut your finger with the knives. Ooh, I hope your finger's doing all right. Sorry about that. That is not cool. All right. So now we're over here in this section. So I already watered my Epipanerum today, and I watered my Monstera, so we don't have to focus on those. So now I'm going to just take a look at the plants that I have back here. And strict off back, I see that we have a Scindapsus that's in dire need of water. I'm going to bring her to you so you can see. Now, Scindapsus, I often forget to talk about this plant too. A Scindapsus is a very easy plant to get, and it's affordable. It goes in the same amount of care as your philodendrons and your pothos. Very, very easy. Low light requirement, but the more light you give to them, the bigger and better their leaves are going to look. So what I'm going to do is get my watering tray. As you can tell, this pot has a really good drainage system. You see those holes? That's what's going to allow us to be able to pass the water through. Now, I'm going to show you a terrible example of a pot. It's actually this pot, and I'm going to show you why. Now, if you're familiar with these pots, then you know that these pots are usually in your Home Depot and your Lowe's. And for the most part, they're now self-watering containers. I have been noticing that most plants that they're carrying now are having self-watering containers with them. And I'm not hating. Hey, it is what it is. But you don't want to use these unless you're using it for your self-water container, because guess what? There's no holes at the bottom of that plant. So if you're planting your plant directly into there, there's no way that the water is going to pass through from the top to the bottom. And you know what that water is going to do? It's going to sit at the bottom of this pot and it's going to retain. And then you're going to have root rot. So you always make sure that you have your plant directly planted into something that has some holes that allow some drainage when you water your plant. So that way it passes through from the top to the bottom. All right. Now, again, I like to make sure I get as much of the plant covered as possible. I'm just making a mess here. I like to water my plant from all different directions, not just one, which is making it a little bit difficult today because I'm holding it, but I want to make sure that you all get the chance to see what I'm doing. Now I am having a little bit of water pass through. I don't know if you can see, you can already see the water tray has water, so the water is definitely passing through. So I'm going to place this plant on the ground, put a little bit more water in and let it go ahead and suck up, and we're going to move to another plant. Again, each plant requires a different amount of water. I can't tell you just to pour this amount in here and you'll be fine. Depending on the size, mainly depending on the size pot that you had to plant in, that's how much water you're going to use. That's why it's important to select those pots carefully. Again, I'm going to stick my finger inside of here, and I'm going to give you a terrible example of a pot to use. Beautiful pot. Just terrible if I want my plant to thrive. These pots right here, they are a big no-no. Shawn, why did you do it? just because I'm stubborn. But these right here, terrible. No, this right here, I don't even know why they even passed this off as you could water your plant, because most likely no water is going to come out of there, which means your water is going to stick right inside this pot, which could cause root rot. Now, how have I been maintaining it? I just been guesstimating on how much water to give to the plant. So I'm not seeing the water pass from the top